Today I would like to maybe shorten a little bit the shir and specifically speak only on the subject of the understanding the korbanos. I remember having discussion with you, and I did not have an answer until I think today I have already a closer answer. It's not completely satisfying as such, but I will try to give an answer that even in modern times to understand the korbanos. First, I would like to give an introduction. And this is something very important because I joined the group on WhatsApp of a certain Rabbi Shalom Tzaddik. He is a professor and kind of he gives a lot of shiurim and very specialized on the Rambam. And we can call him actually a Rambamist. So he's a really Rambamist. That means also, and I guess that he's also kind of not very particular fond of the Haredi Judaism, and he sees it more as a conservative Judaism and not as a true rationalistic Judaism. But the interesting part of his is that he made a statement which I would like to develop a little bit further. He made a statement saying that the Rambam would hold like that. I checked the Rambam inside, and it's clearly that it's not a poshet pshat of the Rambam. And where I would like to elaborate, just to start off with this, is that it's not that you can create what you call a Rambamism, meaning that you find in the Rambam a certain mahalach that the Rambam had, an opinion that the Rambam had, and still therefore deduct things and understanding that can contradict the Rambam himself. So I've seen it in other sefer by chance this last week. I saw it. You can be a Marxist and you can believe in Marxism, but not to agree with every point that Marx has written in his book. So you have to make a difference between the ism, the ideology, and then you have the person that created the ideology that can say things sometimes which are contradicting, according to you, the ideology itself. It's not because that everything that you find in the Rambam must go and must fit with the ideology. It's quite a strong statement because it can, of course, then you can take the Rambam and you create your own ideology, and then even if the Rambam disagrees with you, you don't care but the concept is the right concept. And I think this is what is happening in as we shall see a little bit but with a certain rationale behind that. Okay, so it's clear what I'm going to say is a Rambamism, not necessarily what the Rambam himself writes down. We'll see it inside a little bit what he writes down. So let's maybe start first with the Rambam's view on the korbanos. Everybody remembers that for the Rambam, the korbanos is something which is b'di'evet. It's not something that Hashem lekatchila wanted us to do. It's not something that Hashem actually expects us to do. He brings down that Yirmiyahu said, "Ki lo dibarti es avosechem lo tzivesim bayom hoitzi oisom eretz Mitzrayim al divre oile v'zevach." So Yirmiyahu says, "I never asked your parents when they took them out of Mitzrayim on to bring a korban oile and zevach." And so the Rambam asked a question. Everybody asks the question. What? Sorry? The Rambam asking? No, but this is the Rambam himself. Yeah. The Roiva mitzvahs of the Torah are about korbanos. So how can Yirmiyahu say that this is not? So the Rambam says that the first mitzvahs that we have received after we came out of Mitzrayim, these are the real mitzvahs, is the mitzvahs that were given on Moro. Moro, that was before we came to Sinai. And there we received the Choyko Mishpat. That was the subject of last week's Parsha, last week's by Mishpatim. And we only received Shabbos and Dinim. Yeah, somehow Kibbut Avohem or Poradumo, the Rambam does not mention, although the Chazal mention Poradumo or Kibbut Avohem. There are two Girsois. And then he explains that what we never received any dinim of korbanos. There is no mentioning, not in Aseret HaDibros and not in Moro, the mitzvahs of Korbanos?
First Korban Pesach, yeah.
Oh, excellent question. I knew it, and that's what I wrote here. So the Rambam himself asked, what about the Korban Pesach? Korban Pesach we received even before. The very first mitzvah was the Korban Pesach. What? Sorry?
They were not allowed to break a bone.
Yeah. So how come? What is this pshat? So he explains that the Korban Pesach is an exception. Why? Because he brings down from the Onkelos that, and from Chazal actually, that Seh was an avodah zarah of the Mitzrim. The tle, the muzzle tle. I once checked and I never found it. I don't know archaeologically. You found it? Please send me, because I checked. I tried to find the.
I can recheck.
You can recheck. Don't do it now. Don't do it now. Later on, if you have somebody can find me that the muzzle tle was a godly thing, and so the Mitzrim believe that if you shecht a tle, then it brings you bad luck and you're gonna die. And so what we did is, in Mitzrayim, we shecht the korban tle, and not only that, we took the blood and we put it on the doors so that everybody should see it. And now we're going to show them that not only do we not die, you're going to die and we are going to be saved. So it is to show the opposite. It was more a demonstration of avodah zarah against avodah zarah, that we are doing the opposite. We're taking your God, we shecht it, we demonstratively, I don't know, you call it, we ostented, I don't know the name, ostentatiously, we put blood on our door so that everybody should see it, and everybody believes that this is going to bring us bad omen, a bad luck. And in the contrary, this is what is going to save us, and the one that didn't do it, they will die, the Bechor will die. So you were going to ask?
Yeah, and when Moshe pleaded to go out of Mitzrayim, he always kind of said that the goal is avoided.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that. Then it starts with he doesn't mention that question, but he mentions the question of the Korban Pesach. The first mitzvah is the Korban Pesach, and then so he shows that it's not the Korban that Hashem wants, but it is to break down, to prove the Mitzrim that they are wrong in the avodah zarah. Mitzrayim es shvotim. This is the pshat, maybe in that concept, and the fact that we're not allowed to break the bones is to show that we bechipozoin, that that the idea was Hashem told us, do it and don't schlep, because you never know, it could be that we have to go out now. So it is a sign of bechipozoin, that the level of the Yeshua would come so quick, and this is maybe also a sign of the Yeshua that will come. Is the opposite of what Zionistic belief is, that Yeshua can come pitoimis and everything has to go quickly. Similarly, as the Yitzias Mitzrayim, that the whole chipozon. Today, the Rav Tau explained that Yeshua is something that takes time, that might take a few hundred years. It's a smichas, it's something that grows. But in any case, that's the chipozon. That's why we're not allowed to break the bone. So the Rambam asked that question that you asked, and he gives an answer. So he says that be'etzem the korbanos was never given. So why, do we have to bring korbanos? Why? So he says that it's all a tachbulo. It's a trick for Hashem to bring us to the true belief. Be'etzem, he says, it's impossible if a novi would come today, even Bizman Hazeh, he says, yeah? So that if a novi would come today and tell us in our world that we are today, that imagine a novi comes, a true novi comes down today, and Hashem told us, that you should not daven to Hashem. Somebody novi comes and says, Hashem does not want you davening. Hashem knows what you need. Don't daven. Don't daven. We don't need the davening anymore. You can't hear it anymore. It's already. Leave it. Don't daven anymore. Aval tio, what will be? Tio avodaschem achshove mibilti maase. That everything you avoid has to be always meditate and thinking of Hashem and learning philosophy about the katmus of Hashem, that He is the first and He is the creator, and that He is the creator of the creation, and that He is Ein Sof, He is like infinity, and He is transcendent, and that's just going to be your avoider. People will not accept it. It's not possible. We are used to, and we need it. We need the Beis HaMedrash. We need the davening. We need to be able to tell Mofsim and this Rebbe and Rav Pinto and Rav. We need that. That's part of how we are, and therefore you can't just come back. But you showed here the Rambam very interesting, because the Rambam clearly holds that the etzem, the true avodas Hashem, is takel machshova, and that the davening for him is something which is also b'di'evet, right? From this point of view, he holds takel that the whole davening and the whole Terumoh and the whole bikshut shuvoso be'es tzoro is all part of what you call it b'di'evet. It's kind of giving us a little bone, something, a toy to play, to keep us busy. It's a Moir Nevuchim, Perek Shlishi, Perek Lamed Beis. Ouais.
Moi, je dois manger. Moi, je ne dois pas manger. Si vous pensez que ça va vous amener, ça peut être fondamentalement l'être humain qui doit définir ce qui. Et qu'est-ce qui s'appelle une définition humaine? Comme ça, moi, j'ai compris de Rambam. Elle est aussi divine.
Ouais, je comprends.
La définition humaine vient aussi de quelque part.
Je comprends. I understand. So what you're saying is that the Rambam in Shemona Prokim explains that the tzoim is something which helps also the human being in order to grow closer to Hashem. And he claims to say, but he does not say that the tzoim is bad, that it's not necessary. But imagine that a Novi would tell us that today you don't need it anymore. We already came to a level of intellectuality, if you want, that we already know Hashem, we understand Hashem, we know that nobody here in the whole world does not believe that Hashem is a Megushem, is a tzura. Nobody already knows Hashem is transcendent, so we don't need to fast anymore. We already came to that level of understanding, and therefore the tzoim is not necessary. Imagine, then we would still not want this to happen. It would not be accepted because we need it. That's what he wants to say. That there's a tarbula, it's called. A tarbula is it's kind of a trick. I don't know what you want to call. It's a trick that Hashem does to us. And he asks himself the question, why can't Hashem does it? So in other words, the Korbanot explains, since all the nations did Korbanot, and then they all had a temple, this is how they served their gods. So Hashem could not do something and tell to the people that it's going to be an intellectual religion where you have to do chesed and you have to believe intellectual, and that you have to do chesed with another, and your country has to be with laws and justice. And so therefore he says that this could not have happened at the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And so that's because they believed, and they were in a culture where the temple is a center of religion, and that the Korbanot is a center. Sorry? What? Yeah, but he said I'll allow you to do it, but only in my house, in one house only, not anymore in your gardens, and only through Kohanim, which the Kohanim will make sure that they are focused on avodas Hashem, not on avodas Baal or Asherah. So he said yes, but with a lot of laws. That's why Vayikro is so many laws, to make sure that not to deviate and start to do for other gods. But to say no, and korban, yes, but it has to be like this, and has to be a mum. He explains it, gives all the halachas of a korban, he explains in this direction, that to limit us in our beliefs. Sorry? No, so that's why he explains that it's only a way to actually give us to the people that believe in it, that have a difficult still to believe when they came out of Mitzrayim, to give them an explanation that fits in their own beliefs. Okay, it's for him, and he's very clear. He actually says this is clear, and there's no other way to understand that. Of course, the Rambam is very upset on him, and he says that, but we see Korbanos, even Cain and Hevel brought Korbanos, so we see that it happened already in the time without Avodah Zorah. We brought Korbanos to Hashem, and we might come to an explanation today. But he explains also that he asked the question, he says that you see that Hashem sometimes does a trick, a tachbula, because Hashem says that when Klal Yisrael came out of Mitzrayim, he did not go straight to Eretz Yisrael, but Hashem made them go went to Sinai. Why? Because the Eretz Plishtim are there, and then they will have to fight. And he says that she'ein beteva odom, she'igodel ha'meleches avdus b'choymer u'b'lveinim. A nation that is busy with choymer and lveinim, they are busy that they are slaves. V'adoim Elohem, v'achar kach yichatz yodo l'sharto milichluchom. They will wash their hands, ve'ilochem, and they will fight imilide ha'anek pisoim. And suddenly they will have to fight a nation that is being slaves and has been busy with work, labor, is not fit to start fighting. And so he says that, in other words, what did Hashem do? So he took them away, and it gave them a bit of time to change themselves. And it took 40 years to regain ourselves and to rebuild the whole nation with a whole military that where people were able to fight. So it's kind of, it's ki ein betivo godel al aminim rabim min avodas etc. And he says, are you going to ask me, Hashem can everything? Why couldn't Hashem change us? So he says, no, that's not the job of Hashem, he says. ומפני שאני, ולא אמרתי זה, מפני שאני מאמין ששינו טבע כל אחד בני אדם קשה על השם מסעלה, אך הוא אפשר ונופל על יכולת, אלא שהוא לא רוצה כלל לעשות זה. Hashem does not want to change our nature. It's something that has to come from ourselves. And therefore Hashem did not change us, made a ness that suddenly we should not need korbanos. When we came out of Mitzrayim, we were in a level that korbanos was an important element of our avodas Hashem. We could not accept an avodas Hashem without a temple, without a korbanos, because that was part of our history, that was part of our culture, and this would not have been accepted. And so this is the famous viewpoint of the Rambam on korbanos.
Just about what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different challenge, but we're speaking about the Jewish people that will be, let's say, in his mind, so he's so afraid of other people that might attack him that it's better to move aside because they won't support it. But they will rebel against Hashem that sells them, and so Hashem shows his power to the full class. And so they know they can be destroyed anytime. But we say to Hashem that they still are afraid of Hashem. No, they will rebel against him. But against the Mitzrim, no, they will go back. Well, if the point is they're afraid, then why they won't be more afraid from Hashem than from the people?
Why would they be more afraid of Hashem? What do you mean?
The story of the 40 years.
Yeah.
It's a rebellion story,
yeah.
basically. They want to go back like Hashem.
Yeah. But what does it have to do with what Rambam says now? Yeah.
So Rambam is saying the Korbanot is just to say, basically what you're saying, why we have Korbanot is because the people is still in the mindset of Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
In Mitzrayim, they used to give Korbanot.
Yeah, the whole world, almost,
Yeah, but okay, okay, the whole world give Korbanot. So do I. So do we gonna give Korbanot because we need this? Okay, that's kind of clear. On the other end, so we say that's our mindset at this very moment.
Yeah.
But my point is, if that's a mindset, so they still have it, but they follow Hashem. Why is this? And you are saying if they don't do it, they will rebel against Hashem.
They will not accept it. Yeah, they cannot accept something like that. Yeah.
If they don't
they will rebel, and still they rebelled anyway. So it didn't help. The Tarbula did not help. It's like the Nevuah does not help. That's a general question. That's always what Rav Sherki says, and what Manitou says is that it's fashla. The whole concept is a continuous fashla. That's yeah. Why didn't it help? Because if Hashem made a trick and gave them already korbanos, then they should be happy. And why did they rebel against God? That's your question. Apparently.
It's a family custom to give korbanos. It's not only.
That's not. No? Oh, now you're asking questions that the Rambam asked from the Rambam. That this viewpoint of the Rambam is not has not been accepted. It's like I said. This is what the Rambamism to the core. Everything is rational. There is no korbanos, he's against mystical, against Kabbalah, he's against everything that has to do with the korbanos. He says this is not the ideal. Avodas Hashem is intellectual, is by thinking, by meditating, by believing, by yiras Hashem, ahavas Hashem, dveikus in Hashem, and everything has to be b'machshova. And that's his what? Sorry.
Later in the Rambam for the mitzvah, he's saying a person is basically what you explain is you need to act in order to change. You need to do stuff.
Yeah, that's in the Shemona Prokim also. But it's also so that it's techunos. There he speaks about techunos, which is a bit different. In Shemona Prokim speaks about techunos, a bit less in Moyer Nevuchim, I think. So it's a bit it's mamish aristo. Shemona Prokim is aristo, and Moyer Nevuchim is a little bit more religious. It goes to okay, but that's another discussion that we can. That's another. Let me come back to where I wanted to come in order to explain. The Rambam has also a very interesting view on Akeidat Yitzchak. We all ask the question: Akeidat Yitzchak, a God that wants us to sacrifice our sons. What type of God is that? Why does Avrom follow even this type of tzivur from Hashem? So the traditional way and the Haredi way, and it's maybe also the way that the Rambam here in the text wants to say, is that it shows that we have to be completely submissive and how do you call it? To be mevatel ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bitul. To be mevatel ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whatever he asks you to do, you have to do. And that is where the Rambamistim take the Rambamism from the Moyer Nevuchim, and they give a different explanation than is written in the text, although that I will try to all Shabbos to fit it in the text, and I am maybe already 70%, okay? But it's not 100%, okay? So I'm just going to, let me first tell you what the Rambam says if you're reading it from a Haredi perspective. So I'm a Haredi, and I'm reading the text, and he says that it's clear that Akeidat Yitzchak was not in order for Hashem to know if Avraham Avinu was a Yiras Shamayim. That's clear, because Hashem knows. Hashem does not need to test. So why is a test? And Nisoyin, he says, the Nisoyin is not for him, for God, but it is for the nations. It is for the nations to see and to know and to learn what Hashem expects from you. So when Hashem says, I will test you if you are believing in me and if you fail me, that means, in other words, that if you fail me and if you believe in me, means that it's a repetition of this is what Hashem wants from us. Okay? So the condition that Hashem wants to find from a Nisoyin is actually the purpose that Hashem wants to teach us. So when he says, I'm going to give you mon, so in order to know if you're going to follow me in my ways, it means Hashem wants to make a point that you should follow his ways. And so when Hashem says to shech the Akeidat Yitzchak, the point is, somehow, is to show that this is Yiras Hashem. Yeah? So what is Yiras Hashem? Is this. So he says, V'omnon, Inyan Avraham Avinu levashon b'akeido klal shnei inyunim, kol shnei inyunim gedolim. V'hinyan ha'echot hu le'odia yison ugvul ahavas Hashem v'yirosei at heichon hi magaz. Is to show us how far, and that's very interesting, to remember the word gvul. He says gvul at heichon hi magaz. So the normal way that we Haredi understand is that there is no limit to the Yiras Hashem. Yiras Hashem have to go so far that you're willing to sacrifice your son. Okay, that's the traditional way of understanding. Yeah, and therefore he says that you should be able to give even your avulhu muflak mikol ma she'efshar sheyover b'metzius mima shelo yidu ma sheteva bnei Yehud im yat elo. That it's not normal that Hashem would ask something that is so far-fetched, and that a person would be willing to do that. That is the level that Hashem expects a human being kind of to achieve. It is for us to learn that we have to do it not out of fear and things like that, but ki Avraham Avinu loy maher lishro et Yitzchak lefachdoi mi Hashem shiargu or yirosheshu. That Avraham waited 3 days. It lasted 3 days. אבל כדי שיספרסם לבני הודו, מה רואי לעשויסוי בשביל אהבת השם יזבח וירוסוי, לא לתקווס גמול ולא לפחד עונש, כמו שביארנו מקודם מזרבל. It's different, very interesting how to explain this Rambam, the words that he says. it is Sheroi Las B'Shavas Hashem Yisboah Ve'Yirosei Loi LeTikvas Gmul Loi LePachat Oynish. So he focuses that Avram did not do it because he was afraid of God that he will punish him, but it was a sign of how far the Yiras Hashem has to go. Yeah? Asher Boi Tikre Yira Elokim Gomu. Jede Kol B'nei Odom Gevul Yiras Hashem Mahu. The level of the Gevul, the border of Yiras Hashem till where it goes. So in other words, and this is I understand, the Haredi point of view is, Yiras Hashem has to go so far that you are willing to sacrifice your son for Hashem. Yeah? That's the traditional way. Hashem tells you to sacrifice your son, you just go and do it. That is what Avraham Avinu wanted to show us, that it has to go so far. And then he says, Inyan Hasheni, and that's very interesting. I don't understand why. We don't understand why the Rambam has to bring it. Shelo yachshov hachoyshev ba'avur shehu b'chaloim oy b'mare. So there he speaks about how does Avram know that it was a true tzivut from Hashem. Maybe he hallucinated. It can happen. How do we know? A Novi knows that is true. Some people, imagine somebody would come now, I spoke to God, and God told me that we have to keep more the Torah. What would we tell him? We would ask him, did you take your medication? Did you see Hashem before you took the medication or after you took your medication, right? Nobody would believe that it is true because it's a dimion. It's a dimion. The chance that it's a dimion is much bigger than it was a real nevuah that he had. Oh, so the Torah gives us mofsim. So you have to bring mofsim. Yeah, but here it is something that Hashem did not give to Avram to teach to the others. It was Avram to himself. So that's the problem. So I've seen already a very nice pshutim. There are a lot of the Torah on that part, that because he saw the Sultan, and on the way he saw the Sultan, and then the Sultan told him something, I don't remember what, and therefore he knew that what he saw was true and it was not an hallucination. So the Rambam goes there, something very interesting. So he said, Avram Avinu, Hiskim Avram lishot b'no yechida she'ohev k'mo shetzivo, v'af al pi she'oisa mitzvah hi b'chaloim or b'maro. So he holds that when Hashem spoke to Avram, it was stuck in a cholom or in a kind of a vision. And so
didn't he have a pair relationship?
No, apparently not. That's what he says now. B'chaloim or b'maro. It was a vision. But Moshe Rabbeinu had it. And so b'ma she'yamineu ateva v'lo ye'op. So he wants to say, then he explained, that's why I understand it, that if something goes against the nature of the humans and somebody receives such a vision, it means it's true. So if it is against the nature of humans, then it must be true. Since it does not make sense to sacrifice your son, especially not if this is the son that will have to be will be the nation that will follow, Elomai, it must be true. So Avram Avinu felt a certain way that it is true, and specifically, there's something which goes against the teva. But he felt that it was really truth, and therefore he could do it. And this is what we learned, that nevuah can be true, and it seems from the text that if it goes against the teva, if the teva is something that you thought about it already many times, and then suddenly you have that God tells you to do it, then you can think it is my imagination. It is my inner self talking to me. Yeah, sometimes it happens that your inner soul is talking to you and you have a feeling that it's somebody else. But if it is something which goes against the teva, what? The roimes hakoilos, etc., or things like that, or like the Kuzari. The Kuzari, the dream of the Kuzari, Melech Kuzari, was also, okay, that's maybe fictionless, yeah, we don't know, but there's also that Kavonosecho is Toivim, Umasecho Kruim. And there also, why would you think that every religion is the Kavona, is the important, most important is the Kavona. And then the Malach said, no, the Maisim are not good. So it doesn't make sense. And therefore the Melech knew that something is true, because his dreams were going against the whole belief and the whole cultural belief that the ikir of every religion is the kavona, is your belief, and not the maisim. So he felt that something was wrong, and he felt that it is true. So whenever it is something which goes against the nature of the humans, it means that it's a true nevuah. it seems like that's how I understand the Rambam. Maybe other will understand differently. It's very difficult. Don't forget, it's a translation of Arabic, and therefore we don't know exactly how it was translated, and if the person, the translator, always puts his own understanding and his own agenda in a text. Unfortunately, it's not possible. No, it's not possible. You cannot translate something without. Sorry?
The original ink.
Yeah, but I don't know Arabic.
No, but if we get somebody,
yeah. So, but even then, that is a problem. That even in the Arabic, the same sentence you can read it like this, and Tate shek mir geld, Tate leben shek mir geld. It's the same. What? Maybe this one. I don't know which one. I don't know which one I have here. It was from Shmuel Eben Tivon. That's the one that Rambam himself validated? Okay, could be. Yeah? Or it has been said later on? Do we have a source for that? Oh. Okay, possible. And this is the Eben Tivon. Okay, possible. Okay, let's assume that. Doesn't make a difference. It's not So basically, these are the two mammals. Now comes the point the following, and this is how I understood. I asked on WhatsApp, and he sent me a whole mahalach, and it's very nice. But I will give you my own interpretation. I will take what he says. Like I said, this is a Rambamist. It uses Rambamism, even though it goes a little bit against the text that is written here. In reality, he says, there is something which is wrong here, because we assume that sacrificing a son is something that goes against the nature of humans. But the truth is that this was not like that. It used to be a very common practice. If you want to show Yiras Elohim, you want to show your fear to Avodah Zorah, then you actually bring your firstborn son to him. You sacrifice. This is lo'esiten mavel lamoilach. Yeah, it's allowed. It happened. It used to happen a lot, and probably it happened also in the time of Avraham Avinu. It's also the idea of God sacrificing His own son for us. It's a very good point. I was thinking also like that. So basically, Avraham Avinu was living in a time, and he says, I love God, and I fear God, and God is beautiful, and He's the God of the gods. And then the Koimrim, the priests, told him, you are Take Yiras Shamayim, you believe in your fear, but we are more than you. We are more than you. Why? Because we are even bringing our own son to the gods, and we sacrifice our own son. And so Avraham saw that, and there is the inner voice that told him that I have to do something because I have a problem here. My Yiras Hashem is not on a high level, because culturally, Yiras Hashem means sacrificing your son. And so there is an inner voice that told him, go and sacrifice your son to God. Because that's what the concept was at the time. And then Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, no, this is not what I want from you. And so Avraham Avinu came back to the people and said, I brought him, I tried, but Hashem said no. So it's not a lack of Yiras Shamayim. It is in the contrary. Hashem is the one that says, don't bring Korbanot children to me. You understand? Je sais, c'est un peu... So now what we do is like that. We take the Rambam and we take the Rambam. So the whole Nisroyon is not for Hashem. The whole Nisroyon is for us to learn. But the question is what to learn. So we say that we have to do everything, even if Hashem asked us to sacrifice our sons. What they say is, and that's where I find it interesting, is they say it's the opposite, is to teach us that, okay, now that we start with the religion of God, of the God of the gods, the Elokei Elohim, so now how are we going to show our Yiras Hashem? So let's do the same as what they're going to do. We'll have to sacrifice our sons. And so the first story, it's an interesting story that comes in the middle of nowhere, the story of Akeidat Yitzchak. There is no reason of why it starts, and there's nothing happens afterwards. It's to make the foundation to say, yes, Yiras Hashem, Ahavas Hashem, but there is a gvul. There is a gvul, and that's why I believe the word gvul that the Rambam uses here is a point. Normally the gvul, gvul, Ahavas Hashem, we learn it is the igvul. Yeah, when Rambam writes gvul means that there is no gvul. It's endless. Ahavat Hashem. It goes till the end means sacrifice. And so the Rambam now says no, there is a gvul. And so they want to read in the Rambam that it's actually to show us that the Ahavat Hashem has a gvul. There is a limit, and that this limit is yes, fear of God, but till a limit, not to do crazy things, not to kill somebody because you have a, you understand what I'm saying? So it is the opposite of what the Haredi perspective is. What, sorry? Oh, and so, very good. And so what happened? What did Avraham do? So when he saw that Hashem said, no, I don't want, but he wanted. It came out of his own will. So Hashem says that, therefore, he saw the Vayav Hina Ayil Acher. He saw another eye and he brought it. And this is the beginning of the whole concept of the Korbanot. The Korbanot, and that's what I want to explain, the Korbanot is a substitute for our inner weakness where we feel that we want to sacrifice our children to Hashem out of, gratitude. And instead of sacrificing our children, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, bring me korban. Don't play around. I don't need your korban. But if you really, really feel that you cannot, bring a korban. The hine ayil acher nasar bakarmo, but does he say that? Nechat bakarmo. That is the pshat in this whole Akeidat Yitzchak. That Hashem tells us, teaches us, don't bring a korban, your children. That is. So the Taka brought a korban out of gratitude, of an urge. But to gratitude to Hashem. Oh, very good. Now let's go to Manitou. Let's go back to Manitou. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly serving God what He wants. In return, to give you the point of morality, what you can be the
most. Yeah.
If you serve God as regarding never more vanity or oration based on deal between them and us.
Yeah.
And when you see with the common in a way with our on the front, when you want you serve God,
that's not the way to serve it. Yeah. 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 Very good. Yeah. No. So that's why, but that's the point, that there is a gvul. Well, il faut arriver à 2025 pour 2026. Ouais. Yeah, I agree. I understand. Why didn't they write it before? Why for 1,000 years we had to live under the impression that when God tells you to shecht your son, that you have to go and shecht your son. But he says no, that the whole point of Akeidat Yitzchak is that it's not possible. Hashem does not want you to shecht your son. That is, yeah, I don't know. Why do we have to wait till 2026 to hear this? Have you ever heard such a pshat before? Have you heard such a pshat before? No. So in any case, it's a valid point. I understand your point. I don't have an answer, but at least I'm happy that I have already a rational answer to the question. That it is the whole point that Avram wanted to make. That he says he never heard of Hashem. He never heard of Hashem. He heard the voice of Hashem because it was the common thing to do. And that Hashem, he forced Hashem to tell him, no, don't do it. Because he knew that, therefore, it's the message to the whole world, do not sacrifice children and do not sacrifice yourself, as we shall see. Now, yeah. Right. Yeah. Even in Parshas Shmois, in Parshas Boy, Hashem says to give the Bechor to Hashem, and very quickly he should bring the Bechor to Hashem. Yeah, and then very quickly at the end of the parsha, he already mentions the Epidion. So in other words, because in the beginning he says that you should bring Kadesh Li Kol Bechor Petek Kol Rechem B'Bnei Yisrael Adoim Liu. That means, in other words, to shech. Yeah, like a Korban Behema. What do you do with Korban Behema? You shech. You Bechor B'Necho Tiuli. It's to shech. It was added on clearly later. That was added on. I'm not going to give you a reason. I'm not going to give it to you now. But this parsha is a new parsha that was added on from after the Meister from Koirach, and it was put here. To tell us, don't think that the liu means shechten. It means tivde. Okay? And this is the whole concept of the Torah. That's why the Torah is marich at the end of Parshas Boy. Suddenly speaks about Pidyon Aben. Why? To teach us that point. I do not want you to share. Loi Sichtzach is the first of the mitzvahs in the Aseret Dibros. Is on the second luach, if you believe that the 5 and 5 is the first one. Lo sichtach. This is not what Avodas Hashem is all about. It's about morality and ethics and what you said, and etc. The korbanos is a way to get your emotions out that you feel that you need to. Okay, bring a korban instead. If you feel that you cannot and a Xanax does not help you, then give me a korban. Maybe this will help you. So it's a different shot. So they're using kind of, it's my personal interpretation. They use the same principle of the Rambam that says that at some point you cannot change human nature, and Hashem does not change human nature, and human nature needs it. Let me explain you a little bit what. But exactly, you don't need a melech. But since the other nations have one, and we want a leader, so okay, so to melech. It seems like that it's. In the Postuk, it doesn't, but in the Novi, it seems like it's, yeah. Let me continue. So Manitou is a very interesting. By chance, I heard the shiur from Manitou, and this is, I don't know how YouTube knows what I'm thinking, and he brings me up, right? What? It's scary. It's very scary. I'm thinking about something, and I'm like, and then I go, and then suddenly it comes up at this exact point. Now, maybe it is by chance, and the others I don't realize, because you know what I'm saying? But it's unbelievable. So Manitou, and then I will give you my own interpretation of Manitou. So I was influenced by Manitou, but I will give my own interpretation. But at some there is these 2 points in Akeidat Yitzchak. You have Avram that was Makriv, his son Yitzchak. But you have Yitzchak that was sacrificing himself to Hashem. So you have 2 people here, that 2 antagonists, or you call it, 2 stakeholders in that story. What, sorry? Yeah, whatever, but he was willing to do it. And so he wants to say like that. There is Avram, who is known for Chesed. This is the Chesed is the beginning of Chesed, and Rachmim, and love, Ahavas Hashem, etc. And Yitzchak is known as the Pachat Yitzchak, the Din. So the way that I understand it, I will explain it like that. Avram experienced a tremendous love for Hashem. When you love somebody, you want to give this person the best of the best. Yeah. When you love your wife, you want to buy the best diamond. Clear. You could buy it for 10,000 euros cheaper. No. The best of the best. You give her the best. This is a sign of love and a sign of appreciation. This is the love. You've given all of that you have. And that is what Avram believed, that with giving up Yitzchak, he will express. This is how can you express your love? You feel the love and it sits on you and you cannot get it out. And so how do you show? By giving the nicest present that you can to the person that you love. And that is the chesed of Avram, is to sacrifice the thing that is for him the dearest and the most beloved and the most precious. After so many years, even the Rambam mentioned so many years having to wait for this son. Finally got the son. He's so much in love with Hashem. He says, I have to give him back to Hashem. I have to give him the sacrifice. Sorry? No, because his love, this is the emotion and the rational. Yeah. So maybe it's going to be by a second son. So like the Mavel HaMoilech, what is the pshat Mavel HaMoilech? That by giving my firstborn son, the other children will have a brocha, will be more successful. It's going to be another son that will be replaced. He felt an urge. What? Yeah, but at the time, this became Avodah Zarah only after the story. That's the whole point I want to make. It became after this. Yitzchak is a din, it's pachad. What is pachad? It means that, who am I? I am nothing. I owe my whole everything, my essence, my identity, everything I owe to Hashem. And it's at some point when a person comes to that level of belief, of owing, then at some point he says, you know what, God, I'm going to give myself to you. I'm willing to give my own self because I owe everything and I don't deserve anything, and everything that I have is kind of free, and I'm not deserving. I don't have the merit of life even. My life is not I received life for nothing. I didn't do anything. When a child is a baby, there's no merit at all. He received everything. Everything is done for him. He is the shefela, the center of the family. Everything undeservingly. He doesn't deserve. And so this is the concept of pachat, of din, of I owe everything to God, and that therefore Yitzchak was willing to sacrifice himself. And this is what Hashem tells to Avram and to Yitzchak, Atkan, there is a gvul. I want you to love me. Yes, it's very nice that you love me. I want you to feel awe for me. This is taka the best. That I agree with that. But don't go to that level where you are willing to sacrifice yourself. This I don't want. So if you cannot, like I said, get this emotion, because this is an emotion, it's not a rational feeling. If you cannot get this emotional feeling out, then what you do is you bring a korban. The korban is kind of a substitute to let these emotions out, and you are feeling, and you have a kavuna, like what you said, that the korban is you, and that you're giving yourself up to Hashem. And that is why when a person makes an aveira, and he feels guilt, and some people, by the Christians, I don't know, this movie, how do you call it, In the Name of the Rose, I think that he kills himself, the priest at the end. I think he kills himself because he was reading funny stories. Putting lashes on themselves. They cannot. I know that I have never, one of my great-grandfathers, he died very young because he did Gilgul Shelek, and he died from it. So in my family, we have this. There was a custom to do when they felt, it's like this kapora, to roll yourself in.
You mean like the
sigufim, kind of the sigufim, and he died very young. And so my great-grandmother, she claimed that it's because of that he had a heart attack and that he died. And so basically, this is what I'm not going to speak against my great-grandparents, but it's one of those. This is the message here. Till yes, but not till the Mesirus Nefesh have to be the Mesirus Nefesh has to be the Nefesh but not the neshama. Don't bring back the neshama. The neshama leave here. The nefesh, you want to break your nefesh, you want to sacrifice, you feel so much love and so much fear in you are, and a very religious man with a high level of religiosity, very good. But then, you know what? Give it to the korban. And this, the korban will satisfy, hopefully will satisfy that need that you have of sacrificing yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So basically, don't take it too hard. Yeah. And so basically what they explain is that the Akeidat Yitzchak is to teach us that level that at some point we feel, and not everybody, and for certain people we feel, and maybe also when Mashiach will come, a certain love for Hashem, or the opposite, a certain fear of Hashem, that we cannot live it, and we feel like I cannot live. I owe everything to Hashem, and if they think too much, and then they get to a level of trance, and they feel like I don't deserve to live, and they're willing to sacrifice themselves. This is the level where the Islam went so far, and this is the suicide bombers, is because they feel it also. They feel they come to that level of understanding and of trance and of belief and of emotions. That's why we focus on Chazal. Yeah, we have a problem, but also the Akeidat Yitzchak, that's what I'm going to say. Akeidat Yitzchak is to teach us that. Don't go, there's a gvul. The word gvul is not the e-gvul, but the gvul is taki gvul, that don't do it. That the whole teaching of Akeidat Yitzchak is don't sacrifice yourself and don't sacrifice your children because you feel like. One second, you want to ask a question. Yeah. 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 Sacrifice. Yeah. 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 No, this was also a question that I had, because Avraham Avinu came down and he said to the nations, according to that story, to that chat, that Hashem, I also have Yiras Shamayim, but my God does not want me to do that. So how did he bring down? How did he know? This I don't know. So he did not have the proof to teach. He can only say that, my God, I heard the Malach telling me don't do it. So it was only a story that he could bring down, but not a proof. Yeah. Yitzchak, yeah. Sacrificed, yeah. You send me the link. I remember I've seen it. Yeah, but it's this is already hypothetical. Yeah, but how does he explain then? So what happened? So Yitzchak died. Yitzchak does not have a story. How come this story continues? It's a strange story. There is a problem that it says that Abraham came down. It doesn't mention he came down with Yitzchak. And so the academic world that wants to Bible critique, they want to say always that there are multiple authors of the Torah that are put together by Ezra Teufel or something like that. And so it brings down that they try, like the Noah. Remember the whole Noah story is also, there are two. And then they wanted also to say that Akeidat Yitzchak also. But yeah. Yeah, they want to say that Torah Lava Shomayim. So yeah, Qumran, yeah. Yeah, we'll speak about Megillat Esther. Why Megillah? This will next week, Mr. Shem. So the whole controversial, the controversy about Megillat Esther. That we'll speak next week. Yeah. Yes, doesn't want us to kill ourselves and not to kill our children. Yeah. But it's also to let yourself be killed, but not to kill yourself. You're not allowed to kill yourself. I don't have a proper answer. I've also thought about that, this Shabbos, but the only thing that I could come up with is There's a difference between killing myself, like the Masada did, what they did in Masada, and be killed. And this Rav Goren has a whole shtickle on the Masada, I think. He has a whole, where the halachically, they were, how to explain, where you're allowed to kill yourself before in order for not to. No, to go into a war, and you also have to kill, you have to kill Mechal Shabbos, you have to kill. Yeah. So there is, yeah. But they have to, it's not a bevadai that you're going to be killed. Not, it's one of the natural ways of, I mean, there is a chance of dying, but it's not that you have to let yourself be killed. You have to fight, and you have to strive to survive, to kill the enemy, and you should survive. That's all the soldiers. There's very little soldiers that are being told, like the Japanese. The Japanese were kamikaze, that you go and you don't come back. We don't have this concept. I didn't ever heard. Maybe in the Nach, I didn't learn Nach, but is there such a story where the king sent somebody to kill himself and what? Ah, okay. okay. So David sent Uri, but that's already yeah. But normally we don't have such a case of being sent to make a much of damage and not to come back, but to kill themselves. There is maybe Shimshon, maybe he himself and knew that he would die, but what? Thomas Nafshi. But it's also Im. No, it starts with Im, Thomas Nafshi. Thomas? No. It doesn't say Im.
No.
It says Thomas Nafshi. Yeah. Okay. So you have some exceptions. Exceptions confirms the rule. Normally, it's not the practice. It's a very interesting. Again, it's not. I cannot, even if I read it 4 times, meanwhile, or maybe 5 times, I cannot put what I just said in the Rambam yet. I can feel it. I understand where the words have been used, and I see that certain things does not make sense on the current and makes more sense with what they say. But in any case, I find it a very interesting theory because it gives me a little bit of like I said, a closer look. We humans have a weak note. When we feel love, we are exaggerating and we are getting into a trance. And then Hashem says, no, calm down. Bring your korban. With this, hopefully it will help. And otherwise you take Xanax, as I explained. And but otherwise, it's, a lot of time the korbanos are kapora. People feel guilty. There are such a case that people feel such a guilt that they lose the will of life. That the guilt is sometimes very hard on people. It's conscious that we feel have a bad conscience, and then at some point we lose the preshik of life, and then we're willing to do crazy things and let me alone. I'm giving Hashem here. I cannot live with this anymore. The fear of the punishment is something. Human beings are very weak. The fear of the punishment is worse than the punishment itself. You understand? That I'm going to be punished. I'm going to be punished, and we're willing to suffer years for punishment that will. You understand what I'm saying? The tachat also, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah. Yeah. The pachat he died. Yeah. We don't survive well with pachat. Yeah. 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 It's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have an answer to that yet. It's clear that Cain and Hevel already understood that Hashem does not want them to die, and that they brought the korban. And it's Hevel brought the bechor, like he brought the bechor to Hashem, but Cain did not bring the bechor; he brought the leftovers. That's a story. And why didn't Hashem tell them at the time? I don't know. No, but it was like Avrom. It's a present. It's out of love. And first of all, maybe they didn't have children at the time. Maybe they didn't have a son yet. They were still young. And so what can they bring? So they brought already a korban then, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, he knew, but the critique that he received from the nations were, your Yiras Shamayim is, we have a more Yiras Shamayim than you have. You understand? And this is what drove him to bring a korban son, because he felt that he was under critique. And rightfully, I understand Avraham in such a case, that, he needed to force Hashem to tell him, don't do it. Because he felt that...
so it wasn't from us.
Yeah. That's what they want to say, Rab Sholem Tzaddik. And I cannot read it in, but on the other hand, why does the Rambam very much focus on the imagination of the Chaldoim and the Mare that Avraham had? Why does he focus a lot on that concept? Maybe because he wants to say, like in a hidden way, to say that actually Avraham imagined. It's more of an imagination and a way of teaching the world, to force Hashem to teach the world that it's not what Hashem expects from us. You can turn it in all directions. Maybe Hashem did it and he called them and he told them in order for us to teach us. Could also be. I don't know why he goes very far. To stay, yeah, should have brought them with, and I don't know. There's a lot of questions still. Yeah. Yeah. But in any case, why, if the whole idea was that Hashem should teach the world, why didn't he invite the whole nations? Come, and I will show you. Like who did this? They made Eliyahu Novi. Make a mizbeach, and I'll bring Yitzchak, and I will see if Hashem lets me. And then suddenly the whole world will see it. Hashem said, no, the Malach, they will see the Malach. That's the question. Why, if that's what the Rambam says, it's for the world to see, he says explicitly for the Umois. Why didn't he make Pumbis? Why did he make it secretly? I don't know. Maybe he was afraid of that Hashem will let him bring. I don't know. He doesn't know the outcome. In any case, it explains a little bit closer, at least for me, a little bit closer the idea of bringing korbanos, even when Moshiach will come. It is mainly driven for the people that are feeling that they have to, and that either because they feel bad about themselves, because they have averas, then they have machshovas, whatever, or it is for those people who are so close to Hashem and they feel such love and that they feel that I have to give. So Hashem said, okay, you're going to give korbanos without me. So, which replaces the korbanos. That's yeah. So that's why if a person feels bad, what does he do? He takes a tehillim. If a person is afraid, what does he do? He takes a tehillim. So that's the tehillim. Or when a person is happy, what does he do? He goes to shul and he davens with kavona and he sings the hallel with such a big emotions, and he lets his emotions out so that he can continue life. So maybe we talk, so very quickly, I explained the Rambamism. The concept of isms, ideology does not have to be fitting completely with the author of the idealism. So basically, you can be a Rambamist and still disagree with the Rambam. You can be a Marxist and still disagree with Marx, right? So, and then we saw the view of the Rambam on the Korbanos and on the temple. Why do we need a Mishkan and a Beis HaMikdash? Then he saw the Akeidat Yitzchak, how he explains it, how we understand it. And then there is the opposite of not to listen to Hashem if Hashem tells us to sacrifice, not to do it because it goes against the principles. And then that is exactly where there is a limit to where Yiras Hashem and Avas Hashem have to go. The Gevul that the Rambam brings twice is to tell us there is a Gevul, and the Gevul is the korbanos of humans, and therefore, if you can't, then, but since we are weak, humans, we are weak, therefore we bring korbanos. And we understood, or Manitou explains that Avrom is the one that sacrifices because of love, and Yitzchak is the one that sacrifices himself because of fear, because of din pachat, and pachat Yitzchak, and that he owes everything to Hashem. And therefore there is like a Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh goes till the level of only yourself. That's why in Hasidic Sforim they say that you have to be makrev your bahamus, your animalistic self. I don't know if I agree with that completely, but that's another discussion. But it's clear that the Mesiras Nefesh, that a person have to come to a level where he's willing to do it. And in order to feel better, that's why you bring a korban. Maybe we take a zoiche to the Gula Shlema, and that Mashiach should come, and we should build a Beis Hamikdash, and we should see whether or not we're going to bring korbanos or not. Look, like Rav Kook says, we only bring menuchos and not any more animal. Maybe because of what we just explained, we won't need it, or that we will need it because we'll have a cheshek to bring korbanos, because we have the love of Hashem will be so great that it's the only way that we will be able to feel satisfied and continue with our lives. We take a zoch the Gula Shlema Meirov Yimenu Amen.